welcome to the second edition of our Killa, No Filla podcast with me, Rachel Fairburn, and Kiri, Pritchard-McLean. Just before we start, this is obviously our second edition, but we like to let you know we're not making fun of any people who've been affected by serial killers. We're not taking the piss out of any victims or anyone who's had their lives ruined by them. We're just very interested in the psychology behind these mental people. And as long as we're talking about these people on a podcast, we're not writing to them in prison.
So, episode 2 of All Killa, No Filla, we've decided to do, because we did Jack the Ripper on our first edition, please do listen. But that's just to get him out of the way, because we don't actually like Jack the Ripper, so we decided to go for one that we really liked, which is...
BTK.
BTK. Or you may know him as Denis Rader.
Denis Rader, yeah.
That's his real name. And BTK stands for Bind, Torture, Kill. His full name is, I found this out, I didn't realise until we started doing this podcast, is Denis Lynn Rader, which is nice, isn't it? And Lynn properly spelled like a woman who works in HR, like L-Y-N-N. It's not a manly version of it.
Like Lynn that you work with.
Yeah, exactly. You know, everyone knows a Lynn.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he's got the middle name of a 40-year-old hairdresser, but I had a theory that maybe he had like an absent father, and you know, Johnny Cash's A Boy Named Sue, where basically the father gives his kid the name Sue because he knows he's not going to be around and he'll have to get tough because he's got a girl's name. I think maybe he went, I'll give her a female middle name, and then he'll get really tough because he's a bit of a sort of wimpy odd guy, this one. And then that backfired horribly and he just started killing families and women. Massively backfired, that.
So the worst idea anyone's ever had.
The moral of that story is don't call anyone Lynn.
Although Dennis is hardly commands respect and...
But Dennis Nielsen, it's quite... As names go, there's not much overlap. Dennis is an unusual name, and 2 of them are called Dennis.
There's not a lot of Dennises around, is there?
The Menace is the only other one that I can think of, and I mean, he enlisted all the times.
Yes, that can be applied to both of the Dennises as well.
The Muswell Hill Menace. Right, but today we're going to be talking about Denis Rader, BTK. Now, BTK is unusual because he named himself like Jack the Ripper.
Yep, he did. And he did come up with, through letters he sent to the police, came up with several options.
Oh, mate, he was spitballing so hard. He was like, I've been having a little think, and here are some suggested names for me. And I sort of imagine him standing back in, I imagine this is like everyone sat around a fake beach effect table, and he's like, okay, guys, so what I'm thinking is BTK Strangler was one of his ones. BTK, as we said, stands for Bind, Torture, Kill. The Wichita Hangman. They just sound like wrestlers' names as well, don't they? This is great.
Old legends. The Wichita Hangman.
Well, this one is the shittest one. The Garrote Phantom. It just doesn't flow at all.
Utterly terrible. It's the Garrote Phantom. There's no alliteration. The Garrote Ghoul.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Is 5% better. The Garrote Phantom. He's not even trying.
No, I quite like this. Is the one that sounds the most like a pro wrestler. The Asphyxiator.
Dennis, mate.
Oh, he's embarrassing.
He is embarrassing.
We'll talk about this later, but he's the most embarrassing, like, cringy serial killer. Also, BTK isn't accurate because, I mean, so it stands for bind. He used to tie them up and he used to strangle them, and usually with rope. One he stabbed. Torture. He didn't torture them.
No, he didn't.
And not that we're moaning and going, no, he didn't even pull a fingernail out.
I think this is great that he didn't torture them. Again, it's not an accurate thing. Everything he did surrounding the killings was a bit pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, BTK, bind, torture, kill. Maybe bind, really upset and annoy, kill.
Yeah.
He didn't torture.
He basically put them into tied them up into sort of bondage position.
Yeah.
So it's like bind, mildly inconvenience, kill. Yeah. And they were dead when he did that anyway, because he used to strangle them first and then fuck around.
Yeah, exactly.
BTK doesn't sound like it sounds to me like a delicious limited edition burger. Oh, have you still got BTKs? And do you get the mozzarella bites with those?
He is the most delicious sounding of all the serial killers. I am actually frightened of BTK. He's the one serial killer I read about and I do get the creeps with, without a doubt. But I was actually explaining, I was talking about the podcast to somebody before, and he said, which serial killer are you doing this week? And I said, BTK. And he said, what does that stand for? I said, bind, torture, kill. And the person I was speaking to said, blind, torture, kill. Which they made the killings worse than they actually were, even though they were horrific. Blind, torture, kill.
That sounds awful, doesn't it?
Oh, it is sort of 50% worse than bind, torture, kill, isn't it?
Yeah, just that extra L in there. He's a weird one for me because with most of the other serial killers, you kind of, when you read about their background, you don't go, oh, well, of course. But you go, right, okay, I can see how some of this started. I always think there's sort of a couple of ingredients for a serial killer. Frontal lobe damage seems to be an overriding one. An abusive childhood. Usually they've got like a really religious parent or an alcoholic or abusive or all of those things parent that sort of means that they've got a very peculiar upbringing. And then they usually have some trigger event, some big thing.
Usually the trigger event involves a woman snubbing them. Yeah. That tends to be
I mean, it is usually like, and then she didn't return my phone call. Yeah. So I went and like lopped the head off all those prostitutes. It's never justified in my eyes. But yeah, there's usually those things. Whereas he doesn't seem them. I've read quite a lot about him, but he doesn't seem to have any of those things.
There doesn't seem to be anything. It seems like he had quite a nice upbringing, strict, but not in the sense of like, you know, I'm going to lock you in a cupboard for a week. Yeah. Strict. Occasionally get spanked, but by all accounts, he actually enjoyed that when his mother used to spank him.
Really?
So he started to enjoy strange things like that. His parents, by all accounts, were nice people, good to him. He didn't have a hard time at school. He was quite apparently good looking when he was younger. He didn't have any trouble with women. Everything seemed right. And he used to go to his grandparents' farm every summer for his holidays. Fortunately, at the farm, he did start to get obsessed with chickens being beheaded, and that was...
We've all done it, haven't we?
Yeah, I know.
We've all lost a summer to that.
It is quite a spectacle, isn't it? Especially someone like me growing up in the city. Countryside, it's a different world, isn't it?
I'd like to say I grew up in the countryside and I have not been obsessed with the beheading of chickens. No. Although, as I was telling Rachel earlier, my dad has once kicked the head off a chicken, but we'll talk about that another time. He got into torturing animals, didn't he? Cats. Didn't he kill a cat?
He said he apparently accidentally killed a cat. Accidentally. How, we don't know, but from that moment on, he enjoyed the power and the feeling it gave him, and he continued to torture and kill animals like dogs, cats, anything really.
I always think, because that's another thing that usually starts, they start on animals and then they move up. Cats seem to get a really raw deal in all this. I was watching a programme, of course I was, about serial killers, and it was saying, some American psychologists like, the reason why these people are attracted to mutilating cats is because the cat is symbol of the female form. I was like, no, it's not. It's because there's loads of them and no one gives a shit if they're gone or not.
There are loads of cats. Usually if you see a cat, it's on its own. Usually if you see a dog, it's with a person.
I've got a cat, and if it goes missing, you just go, well, that's just gone for a bit. And you don't go, whereas if a dog goes missing, you put posters up. Whereas cats are just like, see ya. My parents had a cat that went missing for 3 years and then came back, stayed for a week, and then went missing again. I don't know, they're like odd friends from high school that come and stay with you for a bit and then you don't see them for years. So if they don't go missing, you don't really think much of it.
Yeah, they usually turn up again, don't they? Maybe they're all being held hostage by serial killers who just haven't got the guts to kill them yet.
I think he's scary because he's normal. Obviously he's not normal because he killed 10 people.
Yeah.
He just seemed quite... He had a family, he had a wife, he had 2 kids, and he had a series of...
He looked normal.
He looked fairly normal, Because like Ed Gein, to look at, you go, oh, well, yeah, he's clearly dug up dead people.
Yeah,
you only need to look and see. And even, like, Jeffrey Dahmer has a weird kind of air about him.
Yeah, in The Yorkshire Ripper, when you see things about him, there's nothing behind his eyes there. He's completely dead behind the eyes. Dennis Rader looked like a normal bloke.
Yeah, he did. Had a series of really crap jobs. I mean, alarm bells should have gone, because he was a scoutmaster, wasn't he?
Yeah, scoutmaster, involved with the church, alarm bells every time. I would immediately incarcerate anybody that had those 2 things going on in their life.
That's a good Christian and likes to work with children.
Yeah, straight away. Concern.
He worked also, here's the final, the rule of 3, he also worked for the council.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's not example of a sadist in action. I don't know what is.
Yeah.
But he worked in, what was it called, compliance.
He was a compliance officer, which was going round laying down petty little laws with people. Like,
it's more than my job's worth.
Yeah.
Is essentially what it was.
So things like, and there was an incident where he measured people's lawns to check that they weren't over a certain height. There was just making sure everything was in order, and apparently he was completely anal about everything.
Yeah, and didn't he put down a couple of dogs for no reason?
Yeah.
That they're like,
his neighbour's dog, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're like, oh, that dog's on a lead again.
Yeah.
You know what they say? Well, actually, in Article 6, subsection 48, it says that dogs aren't allowed to be alive when they're too close to me. And he just killed the dog for no reason. But what's interesting, because he worked for ADT, the security company, I don't know how they've survived that. Like, do you know what I mean? He went and fitted people's burglar alarms, And they're a huge company. How have they survived having a really well-known serial killer work for them?
Well, I don't know. John Wayne Gacy worked for KFC and they're doing all right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the thing with Denis Rader is the fact that not only did he work for ADT, he was putting alarms in because ADT's sort of orders went up when BTK was around, and he's gone around to people's houses putting new alarms in and putting new systems in because they're frightened of BTK, who's putting the alarm in their house unknown to them.
Oh God,
it just makes it double creepy, doesn't it?
Yeah, in Wichita it was, wasn't it? And then because everyone was that community for ages was kind of gripped by, because they all knew there was a serial killer there. They all knew there was someone killing women there, and it's like, well, better get an alarm fixed. Come on in, Dennis. Thanks so much for coming and doing this at short notice.
Hello, Mr. Rader.
Here are where the exits are in my house. Excuse me, I'm just going to go up to my teenage daughter's room and check she's all right.
Because we live alone, we just need to make sure.
We're going away on holiday, you see. We want to make sure she's okay in the house. The telephone wire. Oh, that leads out this way. Oh, it's just so creepy. Apparently, I think you were telling me this, that when he worked for compliance, he stopped doing murders.
Yeah, it stopped for a while. It stopped for a long time. Maybe he was getting the control he needed by doing that. But obviously his murders were sexual murders, weren't they? I mean, I don't know if he got his kicks from putting a dog down. You don't know, do you? But he just stopped. And maybe it was a control thing, but... Or maybe he was that busy.
That's true, There's a lot of lawns to be measured, isn't there?
There's a lot of lawns to measure, a lot of dogs to put down.
Maybe it was on his to-do list. Kill a woman, but there's a lot of paperwork to get through. He was eventually sacked from his job from the council. Yeah. But it was 5 days after he was arrested. And they didn't sack him for being a murderer, they sacked him for not calling into work for 5 days.
Failure to report to work. Terminated his contract.
Typical council. That this, it's fine to be a sadist and a serial killer, but, you know...
We do things by the book here.
You made a great observation earlier that you think that Denis Rader is the Alan Partridge of serial killers.
He is the Partridge of serial killers. No, I mean, when he got sacked from his job at the council, right, I mean, usually you get sacked to clear your desk. Had he got to be able to clear his own desk, they would have found what he called the motherlode. Drawings and things he'd kept from his victims. And the fact that he referred to sort of his souvenirs and the motherlode. Yeah. That is sheer Partridge.
I mean, killing 10 people shows a lack of self-awareness, but also being like, go and pop this trophy in the motherlode is like more embarrassing again, isn't it?
It's just so cringe with it. And the letters to the police that he sent, and...
Because he killed the first family, and then 3 people came forward and went, we killed this family, and he went, I'll get this sorted out, and went, excuse me, they didn't kill them, and basically wrote a really condescending letter saying, I think you'll find that I'm the murderer, and then gave loads of details that weren't released in the press, so they knew that BTK, as he had, the asphyxiator, whatever you want to call him, he was the actual murderer. So he used to send letters. He used to send letters to the police and letters to a local TV station called Cake, spelled with a K. He also, oh God, it's so embarrassing some of the stuff that he did. He sent... you're going
to mention a cereal box.
Yeah, he decided to start sending things in cereal boxes. Do you get it?
Now, you see the big thing when you're going, you're going to mention a cereal box, it's like you're going to say, oh yeah, and one of his victims' hands was in there. No, he just sent it in a cereal box that said BTK on it, serial
BTK
killer. It's just so cringeworthy.
It's really embarrassing. And like he's just such an egomaniac. So for example, he wrote a letter, the first letter explaining that he was the killer of the family.
Otero family.
Otero family. And he hid it in a library, and now he was self-aware enough to know that no one reads books in the library, so he then contacted the police and went, you should check the library. There's a letter in there. And that's how they find it. Like, he couldn't just leave things to be found. So one of the cereal boxes he dropped in the back of a Jeep. Like that was a flatbed truck.
And someone just binned it.
And they just binned it because it's a load of
rubbish.
shit.
Took it in the bin, yeah.
And then he said the only reason the police found out about it was because he went, did you like my cereal box? And they're like, what are you on about, mate? And they went, oh, did you not get it? And then they looked it up on CCTV and saw him get out of a black Jeep, which is one of the things that caught him, walk over, drop the cereal box in, and then the other guy he dropped the cereal box in just fucking threw it away.
Damn kids.
So he did loads of things like that. I think he was quite thick.
I think he was...
And that's not just me being prejudiced against his very poor spelling. I think he was stupid.
I think he was stupid as well.
The police were sort of communicating with him via the papers, and in one of his drawings he'd done some sort of upside down glasses. So they printed a cartoon of a pair of upside down glasses, and it said, call the chief because they'd sort of struck up a relationship with him, and that's how they were communicating with him. And he just saw that and was like, oh, that can't be for me. So, like, how thick do you have to be to not pick up on all these signs the police are sending you?
A lot of the things he did, I mean, sort of the letters and stuff, he had no sort of grasp of grammar, or there was nothing in the letters that wasn't cringeworthy, that wasn't badly put across. And he was intelligent enough to hold down a job and fool everybody for years.
In the council, though.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I think he was probably below average intelligence. I don't think he was a smart serial killer. Outwitting. I also don't think the police were particularly on the ball with all this. No,
it took for him to fuck up massively for him to catch them. And bearing in mind he was jizzing in crime scenes.
Yeah.
And they were still like... Yeah.
And the fact of, many years later when they did like a swab test on most of the men in the area, they didn't go far north enough he was out of the catchment area. So it's like constant mistakes.
Yeah. But all these serial killers, you see that, the police, it's just like fuck up after fuck up after fuck up. He's so embarrassing. So one of the things he did was he sent to the TV station a little BTK story, and that was a story about him, including fake IDs and little cartoons, and also crosswords, little word searches. That's what you buy someone to go on a long haul flight for. That's not what you write about yourself.
No, like a little word. I wonder what the words to look for were.
Oh, I don't know.
I'll bet 50 quid they were all about him.
Oh, yeah, I'd say
but
so.
It wasn't like the Christmas special.
The BTK story, there were loads of clues about him and his life in there, but obviously it fitted so many people that they couldn't, because they knew from his semen, because it was before like advanced DNA testing, that he was an O-type blood group, but there's 40% of the population. So, but the more it goes on, the more like we knew he was this type of, and we knew he was a secretor. And all this kind of... So they did know, and it's like... And we knew he drove a black Jeep, and it's like... Well, surely, when you whittle all that down...
When you've got all those things...
Yeah, that there can't be too many people.
I mean, the black Jeep is a big thing that you think... All right, yeah, a lot of people have them, but let's find out who has them, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
There was just... didn't really seem to do much.
No. There was one chief of police who was very good, though, apparently, but he came on board later. He also just said embarrassing things. Like one of these letters, he said he signed off with the sexual thrills, my bill. It's cringy, innit?
Dennis.
And he signed off one of them with from the BTK killer, and then put on the envelope return post to what was it? Bill Thomas Killman. Get it? Killman, and you're like, oh, stop it, Dennis, you're making me cringe.
You obviously know. I mean, I think he was at home writing these letters thinking, oh my god, I'm just so clever. I'm such a genius. I'm such an evil genius. And these are amazing things, and nobody's ever going to solve these. He obviously thought he was amazing, didn't he?
I think he's a classic narcissist in the way he behaves, in that he's got this kind of god complex, and he thinks he's really smart, and everyone else is very stupid, and also that he'll never get caught, even though he made loads of mistakes along the way. And the police similarly made loads of mistakes, but he's quite lazy in what he does, because he wrote a poem about one of the victims called Nancy. I think it was his third victim.
And it was called Oh Nancy.
And he basically just...
He's plagiarised from an old American poem. He just changed the words.
I know, he's like the laziest kind of musical comic, just changing the words to songs and getting. I bet you got an applause break from the police at the end of that. Like, there's no work gone into that.
I wonder when his next killing is. I'd like to hear another poem.
It's Sandra's birthday, kill her.
Yeah.
He's a peculiar one for me in his victims, because he started off with a spree. So he killed a family. He killed a family of 6, but he killed 4 of them. He killed the mum, the dad, one of the sons, and the girl. But the girl was who he was after. Yeah. They were just sort of in the way. So he strangled the guy Joseph and his son Joseph Jr. with a bag, and then strangled the mum with a rope, and then took the girl, who he hung from some pipes in the basement. Yeah. He's interesting because he's quite a contemporary example. You can watch his trial and his statements online. So then he hung the girl from the pipes. I think she was 11 years old. And that's one of the places where he left semen at the scene, because he talks about it in a really like and then I had some sexual fantasies, so sorted them out, and it's very strange how he talks about everything.
Yeah, it's a bit. He's not sorry. You can tell that he's sorry. So unsorry. He's completely sorry for himself. I mean, he attempts to try and talk about his victims and tries to find common ground with them. And he's like, in a statement he does after his sentencing, which I find incredibly creepy.
This is the one that the judge said he gave a 30-minute sentencing speech, and they said, that's almost worthy of an Academy Award.
Yeah.
Which I don't know is testament to how shit or how easy it is to get an Academy Award. Because he does not seem sorry at all.
He's trying to find all this common ground with people he's murdered, and this person went to that school, I went to that school as well. Mr. Otterow was in the Air Force, I was in the Air Force. Little things like that. And it just shows him up really for what he is, a complete maniac with no empathy.
No.
It's if you watch it on YouTube, it's he's not very good at public speaking either, which, he doesn't have to be really, does he? He's a bloody serial killer. But you think he's having his moment in court, he should have prepared slightly better. And there's crocodile tears, there's everything. It's really uncomfortable to watch.
When he was sentenced in Houston, there's a 40-minute drive from the court to the prison, and he's just sort of chatting about the weather. But apparently he did break down and start crying because on the radio, the victims' families' statements were read out, and that's when he started crying. But you don't even believe that, do you?
No, I don't think he was crying. He was clearly, that's your moment of realisation. He's in a van going, oh yeah, the weather's nice outside. Oh, what do we get to eat in prison? Is it nice?
Isn't outside nice? I'm not going to see that for another 175 years.
Do you reckon they turned it up as well?
They definitely will have.
Hold on, Dennis, this one's for you.
I just want to catch the news, Dennis, if you can just pipe down for a minute about the weather.
And he's clearly crying for himself. But this is the big thing. He wasn't sorry, because the big thing that he was going to do, because he genuinely thought he was going to get away with it, he'd prepared in his motherload a video.
It makes me sick every time you say that.
The motherload.
The motherload.
It's like something Partridge would say in bed.
It is, isn't it? Get ready, strap in, get ready for the motherload.
So he prepared this video for after his death, which he thought would be his natural death. He thought he'd never get caught. There was a video, a CD that they were going to put on that he wanted everyone at his funeral to watch, including his family, outing himself as BTK.
I can't believe that.
BTK Productions as well it was.
Oh, God.
Right?
I wonder if he registered that with a company's house.
Do you know, I was actually going to say, he's got a production company and I haven't. There's something not right in this world.
But you'll learn that. I learned that from games this year. Everyone's a producer.
Everyone's a producer.
Because you can just say you are without actually doing anything.
I'm a producer.
I've got a desk near a plug. I'm a producer.
I'm a producer, yeah. This is what he's going to do. There was a whole video, evidence, him admitting it, things that only BTK would know, and he was going to make everyone he allegedly cared about watch this at his funeral.
That's crazy. Like, my mum wants, that music that's like the stripper music, what played at her funeral, and I think that's distasteful. But like, if it came up where we sort of sat there, and then my mum's like, "Hello, all those murders," like that's outrageous, and also that to me shows a lack of respect towards his family and his kids, because like that would then devastate their life. Not that it hasn't already, but finding out in that way when they're grieving for their dad. Oh, I think that's one of the worst things he's done. Obviously, the murders are bad, but that kind of like that room full of people and telling them in that grandiose way is horrendous.
He said it was a creeper. So egotistical.
So he killed 10 people altogether. The family first, so he had that spree killing, and then he killed 6 more in staggered stages. There was a couple more that he wanted to kill as well. The ones that he first was the ones that got away. Which is what you say about a really sexy guy that you kissed when you were 15, not what you say about a woman who you nearly strangled to death with a pair of tights.
I mean, this is the thing that I find, the thought of it, right? It was Anna Williams was the woman that he wanted to kill. He stalked her ages, learned everything about her patterns and, what time she went out, when she'd come home. So he broke into her house, cut the phone line, as was his tradition. Cut the phone line, waited in her house, she didn't turn up. And he's apparently getting furious about the fact that she didn't turn up. He was livid about it. Gave it an extra hour, but obviously I think he had to get home to his wife or whatever. She had decided to stay out with friends that evening, so don't ever feel bad about having that one more drink.
No,
that is all I can say. Yeah. Always have one more.
And then drive home.
And then drive home.
That's safer.
Don't ever feel bad. She came back, saw that, window had been smashed, some of the jewellery had gone, phone lines had been cut, phoned the police from a neighbour's house. Thought there'd been a classic break-in. They didn't put it towards BTK. Classic break-in. Even though it was all the signs of BTK were there, the phone line being cut. Until, I think it was about a week and a half later, BTK was angry because A, she hadn't turned up because everything's about him, remember? B, because the police hadn't associated that crime
so he wanted credit for that.
So he wanted credit for it. So he sent Anna Williams a package, not to her, addressed to her late husband. So she opens it. There's the jewellery that he's stolen from her, a poem, and several drawings of sort of women in various bondage poses, and basically saying, I was waiting for you, where were you? I mean, it's one of those things. It's Denis Rader crossing the fine line between romance and threat every single time.
Flowers, good. Breaking into someone's house and waiting for them to get back, bad.
Bad.
It's strange that this kind of thing needs explaining, isn't it? But
Yeah.
there was another one as well. There's a woman that I watched a bit of an interview with, she's called Cheryl something, that basically he had stalked and then planned to kill, and then he knocked on and she didn't answer, so he walked down about 3 doors, knocked on another woman's door, and then killed her, which is horrendous. But it was hilarious listening to the woman talk. She went, yeah, he just apparently knocked on for me, I didn't answer, and then you wouldn't believe it, went 3 doors down and killed another woman. And she was so matter of fact about it. And it's like, because I think if you'd had such a close call with someone like that you would just, that would be it for you. You'd be like, every day would be precious. But she was like, oh God, you wouldn't believe. There was another one as well where he broke in, locked her kids in the bathroom, started to strangle her, and the phone went, and it scared him and scared him away. And she was like, oh God, I survived that. But these women are all like, isn't it weird how these things happen? It's like...
Yeah, if that happened to me and you knew that you could have been murdered and you were now still alive, you would be like, every day would be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a really good person and I'm going to do this and do that. I'm quitting my job, I'm going travelling. But you don't know, do you? I reckon it would become that big story. I reckon Cheryl, every year, someone goes, oh, Cheryl, have you told them about the time that you escaped BTK? No, I'm not telling that again. You don't want to hear it again.
Oh, go on, tell us.
Come on, Cheryl, do the voice. Do the voice, do it. Every year.
You'd be downing out on that.
I told you about the time that I escaped BTK.
Yes, you've told us about the time.
But please tell us again, it's good for therapy.
So he killed 10 people, but over a really long time. Wasn't it like 30 years?
30 years.
So yeah, he started in 74. He killed the family and then Catherine Bright. Then he had a little 3-year break. And then he killed 2 more in 77. And then he had a break of 8 years. And then killed someone in 85, 86, and then 91. And he would have got away with it,
yes,
I think. Because they weren't really... I think the case had gone cold.
They used to set up different task force. So he hadn't been caught and everything went quiet for a bit. And then in the 80s, they decided, we're going to set up a new task force. We're going to find BTK. We're going to revive the case, get people's interest in it again. And they decided to call this task force Ghostbusters. After the popular film at the time, right? I'm sorry, you can't call it Ghostbusters. There's only 2 ways that I think that was named. The first way is like if somebody in the police force had been to see Ghostbusters the night before, really enjoyed it and said, please, can we call it Ghostbusters?
Can we get a poll for it?
Yeah, please. Or if the person in charge of the case was a bit lazy, hadn't done any work, and their superintendent said, I don't know, think of an American cop name. Hey, listen to me, Kaminsky. Have you named the task force yet? And he hasn't, and he's looking around and he just sees a poster for Ghostbusters and goes, Ghostbusters?
I love it.
Yeah, they're the only 2 ways that you could name that Ghostbusters. Tempted to keep the case going, and they knew that he needed to be caught, but 30 years.
They all assumed he died as well.
Yeah.
Just that he died or moved because there was such a big gap. And also he sort of changed his method for the last few killings. He'd always killed them in their house before that, and then for the last few killings, one of them and this is where he got really crafty actually, he really upped his game. And he did say in a letter that he had to plan it more now because he was getting older. They were kind of assuming that he died. So with one of them, this is really the scout camp.
Scout camp. He took because he was a scoutmaster. He took his son to a scout camp, an overnight camp, and he'd planned to leave the camp at a certain time. He left the camp, went to a bowling alley.
This is so American, isn't it?
Yeah. Had a pint of beer, probably Budweiser, spilt it down his front on purpose, pretended to be drunk, got in a taxi to go home, allegedly. Got the taxi driver to drop him a few streets from where he lived because he said, I need to walk off the beer, I'm too drunk. Taxi driver lets him out. Then he goes and murders a woman who lived about a street away from him.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah, murders the woman. This is the first time he moved a body from the house. Took her body to the church where he was sort of quite high up and quite involved. Took pictures of the victim in various poses, then dumped the victim and made it back to camp in his scout gear for 7:30 in the morning.
I mean, that kind of work ethic is unusual in the council, but that's dedication, isn't it? And the thing is, he planned to do it because he was like, well, I have an alibi, and also they would never think that the murderer was so close to the scout camp. I just think that is one of the few really intelligent things that he did. And there was another one that he killed and dumped the body outside, so they weren't sure if it was him or not, because although it was the BTK strangler, the woman had been strangled to death, she was dumped somewhere, whereas he had typically just left them in the house, so they weren't ever sure if it was him or not, so it sort of went cold. And then, in 2004, he read an article in a newspaper that was written about BTK, how he'd never been found, and how someone was writing, wasn't it a profile of him?
Yeah, I think it was like, it'd been 30 years since he'd started killing, and they'd just sort of, said that obviously he'd never been caught, and they interviewed somebody who was writing a book about who they thought BTK was, and this person was saying about the possibilities, maybe he's in prison, maybe he's already dead, all these different things. And of course, Denis Rader, being as arrogant as he was like, I don't think so. I want to write my own book about me.
Brilliant.
So he got in touch with it, then he starts writing the letters again.
He's such a comedian, isn't he? Googles himself, works shit jobs.
Yeah.
and never really achieves anything. And and plagiarises and just changes the words to songs.
Stays out late and goes home to a wife who doesn't care.
And doesn't really know what he's up to. Yeah, he's a classic comedian. But how he got caught, I think, is quite interesting, because he then started communicating again with the police. And they decided the approach they were going to take is to try and make friends. They basically got into a dialogue with him. And then he said, if I sent you a floppy disk with all this stuff on, I mean, that would probably be easier for both of us, wouldn't it? And also, can you trace that floppy disk? And they went, no, of course we can't, mate. And he went, brilliant, I'll send it over tonight then. And then he sent him over a floppy disk that could be directly traced back to the church he worked at. And then it was like, when they looked at the document, you can see who updated it last, and it just said Dennis.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, mate, come on.
You got Dennis who works there.
I know, but they went on the internet, which was still quite, I mean, in its early days.
Yeah,
and they just went on, like, the people that worked at the church, and like at the top of the list was Denis Rader. Then they drove past his house, saw he had a black Jeep, which they know from the misplaced cereal packet was his. But then again, it was all circumstantial evidence, and it was quite interesting how he actually got caught was through DNA.
In quite a different way. Police obtained a warrant to access his daughter's smear test. Proves the point, ladies, you should never put it off for many reasons. It's very important you get your smear done.
I think they should run that on the new advertising campaign. Is your vagina hiding a killer? Come get a smear test so we can find out. This is the thing about him, is that all the others are weird. They're like, weird guys that live on their own that then happen to kill someone, or, peculiar guys have a weird relationship with their mum. This guy had a wife and 2 kids and was a bit of a pillar of the community.
Yeah, he was well respected. People liked him.
How did they not know? How did they not know? Because he hid stuff in his house as well.
Yeah, he had hiding holes around his house with his drawings that he did and various other things. His wife never picked up on these things. There was one occasion where his wife did say something, which was obviously shown on the newsletters and sort of the communication with the police. His wife was actually getting quite frightened of BTK. Dennis wasn't worried. He left a note or something on the kitchen table, and she picked it up and she said, "Oh, do you know, you spelled just like BTK." Apparently Dennis said nothing.
That's so creepy, isn't it?
I mean, you must think at that point, could it be him? It's one thing having handwriting similar to somebody, because you tend to have the same handwriting as everyone in your year at school, don't you? It's a similar thing, but to spell the same as somebody, because his spelling was appalling. Or maybe it was just one of those things in an argument, you spell like BTK.
I just don't know how, because he killed 10 people. I know he spaced it out, but with some of them it was all in this. When someone kills a family, how do you not, if my partner killed someone, I'd be like, I wash all his clothes for a start. So I'd be like, what's this on your clothes? Do you know what I mean? I would pick up on it straight away. Or if he's not out at a gig, he's sat on his computer. So I would be, there we go, maybe he's, can you trace this floppy disk? I would know, I'd be like, what have you been up to? Because he's not hard working. I mean, he put it this way, he wouldn't lie about a scout camp and then work all through the night and then go back to it at 7:30. He's not got the work ethic for it, my other half. I just don't understand how you can not pick up on all this stuff.
I don't know. Having said that, I'm a bit like that. I'm quite oblivious to most things, and I can be quite gullible at times. I sometimes, if I trust somebody, I will just accept something. So, I mean, for example, a friend of mine, a very good friend, my friend Phil, one of my best friends, once told me that Asda replaced one of their petrol pumps and was now making it a milk pump, and you just brought your old milk carton and got milk from that, and I believed him because I trust him. I said, really? And he said, no. I believed him. So, I mean, I'm by no means stupid, but occasionally...
You are the perfect serial killer's wife.
I am. If I trust somebody, I'll just be like, all right, okay, fine.
How did you meet? Well, we're both interested in the same field of work, and she doesn't ask very many questions. Well, there you go. You heard it here first. So he was sentenced in 2005. By the way, we're not saying that his wife did know.
No, not at all.
The fascinating thing about him is that she clearly didn't know. The poor woman had no idea, and she was granted which is unusual in the Bible Belt as well, an immediate divorce on the grounds of the protection of her mental health. She even said, I mean, it doesn't really need to be said that she would never have brought her kids up if she knew with him, if she knew that he was obviously up to all these murders. So it's incredibly sad.
It is very sad.
And it's good that he did get caught and he didn't get to do that bloody video at the end of his funeral.
At least it saved him that.
So he was sentenced in 2005 after being caught with a floppy disk and vagina combo, the old one too. So he was given 10 murder life sentences. He tried to claim that he'd killed more, which is classic Billy Big Balls.
It is, isn't it?
Gets in a fight. How many of them were there? Oh, mate, there was like 12, and like one of them was really big. I think 2 of them were black. I don't know if that makes a difference, but he's such a sort of like a pub fighter talking it up. But no, he actually killed 10 people. So he's sentenced to 175 years without parole. So I think he is meant to get out in like 2008.
Well, people are living longer now.
They are, yeah. And also, I mean, he must have quite a good lifestyle. He's in solitary, isn't he, for 23 hours a day?
Yeah, for his own safety.
Because they think that they would off him.
Gets exercise for 1 hour a day in the yard, which I have to admit is more exercise than I do. So Denis Rader's probably more active than I am.
His wife has passed away now. His daughter has written to him but has never met him, so they are still in kind of contact, but she has kept quiet about it for sort of nearly 10 years, 9 years. But this year she's come out and given a statement, but it's because Stephen King has written a collection of short stories, and one of them is inspired by the BTK murders, and it's basically about what we were talking about, really, about how you can be married to someone and not know that they're killing people. And she just sort of came out and went, oh mate, can you not do this? Can you not try and profit from... Because he wrote these stories that were released a few years ago, and then that one's been picked up in particular, and they want to make a film of it. I mean, he did say it's like a straight-to-DVD release kind of film, Stephen King. But she was like, can you not try and profit from all these families?
I think, see, the thing is, he's not saying it's BTK directly. He's not using BTK's victims in any way. The thing is, if you're a horror writer, you're going to take inspiration from the horror around you. And I think it's quite interesting. I mean, it's not from the murderer's point of view, it's from the point of view of a wife.
Yeah, he says it's more of a... He said it's not an ode to this guy and his character. It's more of a testament to how a woman keeps going on after that.
And I think that's quite an interesting point of view. But I can understand, I mean, obviously I'm not in that position. You'd probably feel like crap if you thought...
I suppose you'd just be like, 10 years, like, starting to get over things, and then you're like, oh no, all right, okay, so I'm going to do a film about it. Yeah, cheers, Stevie boy.
Cheers, King. Yeah, I think... I can see both sides of it. Maybe Stephen King should give all the proceeds to a charity.
I was thinking that. Yeah, that or the Victims Fund.
Yeah, I think he should
do something like that. They did get a payout. I'm right, you say.
Well, I heard he listens to this podcast, so maybe you'll take that on board.
Yeah, come on, Stephen. Also, why is it a giant spider at the end of it that gets killed with a pair of earrings? So much better when it's just like that's so like I woke up and it was all a dream. But we're not going to get into the spider being killed by a pair of earrings right now. BTK's working on his own book.
Apparently so.
Aren't they all? He's the Jeffrey Archer of the serial killers.
Apparently he's working with a female psychologist who's visiting him in prison. She's working on a book. It's going to be about him with his input inside the mind of a serial killer. So it's going to be very useful to people studying the psychology of serial killings.
No, she's just going to make a mint.
Yeah, she's going to make a mint. Happen. I don't think he should be allowed to collaborate on it. I think...
Well, he won't. He's not allowed to. He's not. Isn't there laws that are fairly international that you're not allowed to financially benefit from any crimes that you've committed? So, but the thing is with him, he's not obviously not after money. He's obsessed with the idea of his own legacy.
Yeah, he's obsessed with himself.
Yeah,
he's obsessed.
So this is perfect for him.
So this is exactly what he needs, and I don't think he should be allowed. I mean, when we get into the thing of the psychology behind the killings, I think we're pretty much clued up on all the psychology behind why people kill, who's done what. Every case is individual. I think psychologists can work out why he's killed.
Yeah, well with him, he's not like it's not like there's a series of really interesting, weird things that have led him there.
No,
he is a narcissist and he's clearly bonkers.
Yeah,
and he liked to kill people. That's not even a page.
End of.
How are they wringing a book out of all that? So I just think that you're playing it, as much as I love all this stuff and I love to read things like this. I just think that you're playing it. That's exactly what he wants. Is a legacy and people to be talking about him again, because he was clearly googling himself, wasn't he?
Of course.
And I bet, if you're listening, Dennis. Well, he has been given. The victims were angry because he's been given privileges. He's been given access to television
TV
and magazines he can order. So I don't know if podcasts are on the list.
I don't know, maybe.
But,
I say you are a serial killer in prison. would you be allowed to listen to a podcast about yourself? Would you be allowed to watch a documentary about yourself?
I tell you what, I bet if he is in prison, that would be the top of his list.
Oh.
He'd be like, I want to watch this.
What can I get? Anything about me?
It would be, of course he would. And he'd probably send them a really long, badly spelt letter telling them all the inaccuracies. I don't know if he would be able to listen, but it would certainly be on his list of things to do, I imagine, from everything I picked up from him.
I reckon so.
There was an interesting... I was listening to a woman talk who was from his church who said, it's so weird that it's him, because he's the kind of person that if you had to walk down a dark alleyway, you'd be like, oh, Dennis, will you come with me?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't dark alleyways, it was in your own house
Ooh.
with a cut phone line.
And that is what makes it so
I find
awful.
him really scary as well. It's coming home to an empty house and thinking, oh God, there could be a big Christian hiding in the living room.
A big Christian scout leader hiding under my bed.
Yeah, that's BTK, and a pillar of the community.
Yeah.
I think next time we're going to be talking about another pillar of the community, aren't we? We're going to be talking about John Wayne Gacy, the clown face killer.
The killer clown.
The killer clown, yeah. So that's how you might know him. He's the guy who used to dress up as Pogo the clown.
Yeah.
So we'll be chatting about him. He's a really good one, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
We'll be talking about that. So this is the All Killer No Filler podcast with Fairburn and Pritchard-McLean. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you.